to Your Retirement Untangled. I'm Andrew Knight, President of Asset Management Group, sitting alongside my partner, Moise Param. And guys, listen, we are so thankful that you have chosen to join us this week on this week's show. We got some great content as we do every week.
Yeah, every week you have joined us and watched us as we navigate through the journey of retirement and untangling some of the noise that you may hear as you start to build your retirement plan. So, Andrew, as always, great to see you. And,
absolutely.
Let's get going.
Hey, man, we got a great content, great story that we're going to walk through with our viewers literally through each episode. And it's going to be a little bit different. You know, Mo and I get the opportunity to teach in a public setting pretty frequently at a variety of different institutions or public locations. And so we're going to basically walk you through kind of a crash course, like a retirement 101. You know, let's jump in, let's get it done. So this show this week is really for the individual that is, you know, I'm going to say probably, you know, early 50s. They're kind of getting in that retirement frame. They're thinking about things like Social Security, health care, markets, inflation, taxes, that's the topic, okay?
Yeah, think of it like the retirement red zone, right? You're almost there. You're almost at the finish line, but you're just trying to figure out, okay, now I've done some savings. I've been investing. Now, how do I start to put all the pieces together to build a retirement plan? So you're right at that sweet spot, that red zone.
All right, so here we go. So we got like 6-7 minutes to knock out Social Security.
Oh, wow.
So let's do a quick basic kind of recap on just the foundation of Social Security and things that our viewers need to consider.
Yeah, when you think of Social Security, the first thing you want to consider is that window of opportunity that you're ready to start filing and collecting your Social Security benefits. So that window is age 62 to 70. So that's when most people are eligible to take Social Security. Now, there are some things you need to consider. At 62 years old, that's when the window opens. But if you start taking your benefits at 62, you notice that you're getting a reduction of your benefits if you were to wait till your full retirement age, your FRA, which for most of the viewers is going to be somewhere between 66 and 67. That's when you get 100% of your Social Security benefit. That's almost like your sweet spot.
So anytime before that, we're talking about a reduction.
You're talking about a reduction. That's right.
Yeah. So, and just kind of give an estimate here. An estimate reduction, starting benefits at age 62 is going to be somewhere around 25%
reduction
of your full retirement benefit. They call that FRA, full retirement age. And what you said was 66 to 67.
Yeah, depending on what year you were born. But then if you decide to wait after your full retirement age to start taking Social Security, you'll notice that you get an 8% increase on your benefits. And that 8% increase continues up into the age 70 where you'll be forced to take your Social Security benefits. So that's really that window, that season of opportunity to make sure that you're starting your Social Security at the right time. Okay,
so we know when to file, right? The range of age that you just gave us. Let's talk about how the system works when we go into filing. So the Bipartisan Act of 2015 really changed kind of the dynamics of how Social Security is structured from a selection standpoint. What I mean by that is this. You walk into Social Security Administrative Office and you say, listen, I've been paying you guys for 30, 35 years, 40. It's about time you pay me back, right? I'm going to file for Social Security. At this point in time, since 2015, there's a new term that's been created. It's this term called deemed filing. And basically what that means is that you are to have deemed filed for any and all eligible benefits at the point in which you're filing. So if you're sitting here and you're saying, you know, Andrew, one of the biggest complicated things that I've struggled with when trying to consider Social Security, Mo, this happens for a lot of our clients and viewers, is, you know, I'm married, right? Maybe I'm divorced. I have my own benefit, a spousal benefit. Maybe I've lost a loved one. I got a widow benefits. And so how do I know which one to take? But this new term deemed filing has kind of eliminated the different options because you're just going to get the best, right? You don't really get to choose anymore. And so that's a big change with the Social Security system.
Basically, they're saying that when you walk in and start and want to choose a benefit, you're deeming to collect the best benefit that's available to you at that point. To kind of take a little bit of the guessing game out of it. Now, it's not a plan, right? It's just a way for you to know which benefit you'll be able to maximize the most.
Absolutely.
At that given time.
Yeah. Now the clock's ticking, right? So we got to keep on with Social Security. So let's move on to we get the benefit. All right. So the benefit started.
Okay.
Now, how is the benefit affected over time? How does the benefit keep up with inflation, things like that?
Yeah, so there's a cost of living adjustment that is applied to your benefits. So in 2022, everyone received about a 5.9% increase. 2023 now, 8.7% increase.
Not normal, or not typical
normal.
to the history of what we've seen.
No, it's one of the biggest cost of living adjustments we've seen in decades, right? So that's a big deal. So what the cost of living adjustment really does is just kind of keep your benefits increasing and to keep up with inflation.
Yeah, does it? No, I mean,
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. I mean, if you look at the cost of your prescription, your prescriptions, your cost of your health care, it's not really keeping up with inflation.
Yeah, but it is a benefit, right? At least the benefit's going up, and it is nice. You know, one of the silver linings of an increased interest rate environment in which we're in is that things like your Social Security benefits do get bumped up. Oddly enough, we're seeing it for 2023, a decrease in Medicare Part B premiums. That's kind of a side note.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
nice.
I don't know if I've ever even, I can't even remember the last time they've
seen that in a
ever
while.
done that. Yeah, so Medicare's literally reduced the cost of the premium. So we elect Social Security. We now get the benefit coming in. It's now going up. Now, some other questions that I know some of our viewers probably have, because we get it pretty frequent, is can I work and collect benefits, and can my benefits be taxed?
That's right.
So working and collecting benefits, the reality is, yeah, you can work and collect benefits. Could you be penalized? The answer is also yes. And the penalty happens. Oftentimes, it happens literally between your start date of 62 and filing from that point up until December 31st before the year in which you reach your full retirement age. Give an example. I'm turning my full retirement age 67 in June of 23. Okay. So for me, before full retirement age is 62 up until December 31st of 22. Right?
I'm with you.
Okay, so during that time frame, if I take a benefit, that's great. I can do it. But if I do it in work, I got to pay a penalty.
And the penalty is really based off of how much income you make during that time frame. So the Social Security gives us what IRS gives us a limit, right? It's just shy of $20,000 of earned income. So if I make over $20,000, the penalty is how much I've made over that limit, and it's one for every $2 that I've received. Yeah. So for instance, if you make $60,000 during that time frame, you've made $40,000 over the limit. One for every $2, I have a penalty of what, 20 grand?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, once again, the time's slipping away. I got one more thing to say. Can your benefit be taxed? The answer is yes. Up to 85% of your benefit can be taxed as a result of your, of your combined or provisional income. Okay, now listen, quick side note. Should it be taxed? I don't know. That's a result of a plan, okay? Our goal for our clients is that at some point in time, we do not pay unnecessary tax. You should not be having to pay tax on Social Security, in my opinion. It is unnecessary. Let's get you to a place where you don't have to. We want to offer you the Retirement Readiness Review. The Retirement Readiness Review is going to take care of all the items that we're talking in today's show. The first segment's about Social Security, quick crash course. So if you want the Retirement Readiness Review and you want this little extra Social Security maximization report, pick up the phone and call 855-792-5855. Now listen, you got to stay tuned because the next topic is inflation and taxation.
Call 855-792-5855 to receive your complimentary Retirement Readiness Review and Social Security Maximization Report. Get the most from your Social Security payments. Find the strategy that maximizes your Social Security benefit and preserves the assets you've saved for retirement. Social Security seems easy, right? The question is, should you take it now or later? There are numerous ways to file for Social Security. The decisions you make can also affect how much you pay in taxes. You've paid into Social Security for decades. Now, get the most out of your Social Security benefit. Call Andrew, Mo, and the team, 855-792-5855 for your complimentary Retirement Readiness Review and Social Security Maximization Report. Now you need to build that into a retirement income plan with all your assets. Call Andrew, Mo, and his team right now, 855-792-5855 to receive your complimentary Retirement Readiness Review and Social Security Maximization Report. Or use the QR code on the screen to schedule your appointment today.
Welcome back to Your Retirement Untangled. We appreciate you guys joining us today. We got kind of an interesting show. We're literally walking through a Retirement 101 crash course, jumping in quickly and addressing many topics. We just got out of the topic of Social Security. And of course, I wish we could cover it all. We can't. We just don't have enough time. And we want to move on now to the conversation of taxation and inflation. Okay. Now, taxation, I want to address it from the perspective of almost like you're building a case. Okay. Why should you, our viewer, be concerned about taxation? Okay, that's the premise of where we're going to come from. Now, I'm going to start with this whole consideration of debt. Okay, now you think, well, Andrew, why are we talking about debt? Well, the government is sitting at a liability of what,
over $30 trillion.
Over 30 trillion. Okay, so the government's sitting at a liability of 30 trillion. What does that have anything to do with taxation? Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, why that makes sense, why we have to consider that is because the debt has to be paid at some point. And when you start thinking about debt, as a government, if you figure debt, how they're going to handle debt the way that an individual handles debt, right? You press into the point of where your income, natural income source is coming from. So basically, if I have debt, which is probably a result of spending too much, then as in relation to how much money is coming in, then I go back to the source that I'm getting my income from. So maybe I take a couple more shifts at work. Maybe I sell a little more products if I'm in sales. So I go back to the natural source that's driving me income. Well, if the government's going to do it that way, well, what's the natural source of income for the government?
Yeah, I think you're coming at it at a good angle. So we as individuals, when we violate how much money we got coming in, we do create this debt you're talking about.
Exactly.
All right. So from the government's perspective, what if they did the same thing? You know, when you consider the government's inflow, okay, what is the number one source of the government's income? Yeah, it's taxation.
It's taxation.
Right. But what type of tax? So income taxation represents literally over 35% of the government's inflow. Second to that is retirement taxation. Almost 2/3 of the government's income is created by you guys, okay? By our viewers, by us, okay? And specifically retirees. Now, consider this. We're creating 2/3 of the government's inflows. But who represents the majority of the outflow?
Our viewers.
When you look at the budget items that are represented on the government's budget sheet, okay, we're talking about literally 90 cents of every single dollar is spent on 4 items. 90 cents to the dollar, 4 items. Number 1, Social Security, retirees. Number 2, Medicare, retirees. Number 3, Medicaid, and number 4, interest on government debt.
90% of every dollar is going to those 4 items.
So we're of course, conspiracy, right? Where we're playing this idea that, hey, listen, if the government did what we do, we naturally tap into our source of income. You guys know that, right? During the holiday season, in preparation for that, what are you thinking? You know, end of year deadlines are on the horizon. I need to sell more. I need to make sure I can capture this bonus. I need to sell more product. I need to take on extra shifts. I need to kick up a little bit of overtime, pick up some stuff on the weekends. You're trying to create more income to cover what you know is coming down the road or to cover the money that maybe you've already spent. The government could potentially do the same thing. How much money more do we have sitting in retirement accounts that have been untouched?
There's about $7 trillion in money in 401ks, IRAs, pre-tax accounts that haven't been touched. So like you said, Andrew, if you think about it, this debt has to be paid. So one place that you're going to look at is let's tax, the government's going to look at, let's tax some of these investment accounts that haven't been taxed.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of clients and a lot of people are just saving in these tax-deferred accounts that haven't been touched, right? Mm-hmm. And so things that you need to consider and why taxation is a big deal for our retirees is, you know, at some point when you start making these distributions from these accounts can be taxed. Again, required minimum distributions at age 72, you will be forced to take these distributions from these accounts, which can cause taxation on your Social Security that we talked about before.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Listen, and to what you're saying, if you're going to be forced to pay taxes on a tax benefit in which you pay taxes to get, that ought to motivate you to do something about it.
Right.
Yeah, it ought to infuriate you. Let's consider some game plan and some strategy where we can try to fight back. You know, play this game on our field. All right, second question. We think that it's likely that taxes are potentially going to go up. The thing that comes to mind that I'm thinking of is, are we actually in a good tax rate environment right now? You're 23, okay, in this season of life, are we in a good tax system?
You know, historically, the highest tax bracket, federal tax bracket we've been in is over 90%. So right now, if you think about it, right now we are in a very low tax environment. So the question is, if I shake the hands with the government and pay the taxes today, will I know that I'm in a lower tax environment? I don't have to worry about the potential of tax rates going up, right? Because if you think about the three ways that government makes money, right? They either print money, which we've talked about already. They either borrow money, again, going back to the debt, or their taxes. And that's what we're talking about right now. So if the first two areas have been already addressed, the third one is on the table.
Yeah. So, you got to answer that question on your own. Will taxes go up? Will they go down? I think the question you should be asking is, do I have a tax plan that I'm confident in solving for the tax responsibilities that have been created because of the way that I have saved? That's the question you need to ask. And if you don't have one, I'm just going to throw it out there. You ought to pick up the phone and call. The Retirement Readiness Review solves for that. 855-792-5855. It basically paints the picture on whether or not you need to consider a tax strategy. We don't have but just a few more minutes left, and I want to make sure that we touch on this topic, inflation. Okay, crash course, Retirement 101. Inflation better be a part of it, because it's like the hidden tax. It's literally eroding people's spending ability, their assets, and it's a huge problem.
Yeah, if you're not factoring in inflation, you think about a retirement plan that's going to last you 20, 25, 30 years, you have to figure your dollar that's spending today is not going to spend the same way as it does 5, 10 years. I mean, think about it. Your dollars in 2021 isn't spending the same way as it's spending in 2022.
Yeah.
So you really have to figure out and think about, how much do I need to be, how much does my dollars in today's world need to be 5, 10 years down the road? And unfortunately, some of these online calculators that some of the people that are left blindly trying to figure out, how much income they'll need through retirement, aren't using a reasonable inflation factor at all.
Yeah, well, and it's hard, Mo, because if you consider it, where we're at, the inflation numbers today.
Yeah.
Really, it's incredible what that does to someone's ability to stay retired.
Right.
So, I just encourage you guys to be mindful of your outflow, okay? In moments like these, I think it's imperative for you to kind of, take a step back for a second. Find your footing on how much money you've been spending. Know your Get Skinny plan, all right? The start of a year is always a great time to relook at your budget. I know people hate the word budget, but you better be mindful of it, okay? We're in an economy that's changing quickly, Mo. We're in a different environment, and we think that you should be really mindful and thoughtful about how much money you're making and ultimately how much money you're spending, especially if you're the one that is entering into retirement. This inflation number is huge. Listen, the Retirement Readiness Review that we have already discussed is a complimentary gift for you. It's for only the 10 callers that can reach out on the show, the first 10 callers, and it's not going to go to anybody else but me and Mo. We're literally have set time on our calendar over the next few weeks to speak with you. If you want the Retirement Readiness Review, and because, Mo, we're talking about a variety of different topics, we're going to throw in a special inflation report, understanding how inflation will impact your retirement. If you want it, pick up the phone and call 855-792-5855. Stay tuned.
Call 855-792-5855 for your Retirement Readiness Review with Inflation Report. Inflation continues to hit all-time highs. Will your investments provide you with income you need in retirement? Are you losing purchasing power of your savings? Don't let runaway inflation erode your retirement dreams. Now's the time to act to be certain you have an income strategy that overcomes the effects of inflation. Call Andrew, Mo, and the team at 855-792-5855 for your no-cost Retirement Readiness Review with Inflation Report. You might have the savings you need today to weather this storm, but how will inflation affect your nest eggs 5, 10, 15 years from now? Discover the peace of mind you deserve. Call Andrew, Mo, and the team at 855-792-5855 for your no-cost Retirement Readiness Review with Inflation Report, or use the QR code to schedule your appointment today.
Welcome back to Your Retirement Untangled. Andrew, Mo, as we spend another week with you, I want to take a quick moment and thank every one of you for spending the time with us this week, and hopefully next week. Stay with us as every week we try to bring truth, reality to financial planning, to investing, and ultimately bring you the tools that you need to be successful in the season of life you're in and the goals that you're trying to accomplish. It's important. Mo, today's been a fun day. We're talking about like a retirement 101 crash course, get the facts, and we're kind of hitting a variety of different topics, right? We've touched on Social Security, we've touched on taxation and inflation, just trying to get you to be mindful about these items, consider them ahead of time, build a plan. The last topic is markets. Yeah. So let's hit it.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we have to figure out is, when you're working with building a retirement plan and investment strategy for our clients, we take risk into consideration, right? Everyone has their own personal risk number. What I would say is their ability to absorb risk. And what the market has been showing is that there have been clients right now that have been hit really hard because
maybe some people want to change that number.
They want to change that number, right? And I'd say that these risk questionnaires that you see online, where clients are just filling in these questions and coming up with a number to come up with a category of balanced, conservative, moderate, aggressive. The idea is, do you really know what your risk tolerance is? And that's the first step to understanding the markets, because the markets can be relative to different people. Some may look at it as an opportunity. Some may look at it as, oh my gosh, I need to run away from the markets. But when you're saving in your 401k IRA, you have to make sure that the strategies that you put in place has a healthy respect for the markets overall.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a piece to the puzzle that cannot be missed or messed up or confused. Our viewers, I think it's vitally important that you fully understand that your money, there's a certain amount of risk that your funds can afford to take to be able to support your plan. You've got to figure that out.
Right.
Okay, and I would send you kind of a word of caution. If all you've ever done to try to determine how much risk you can afford to take, it was simply take a questionnaire, a suitability questionnaire, great tool, okay? But is that really going to solve for someone's ability to accept risk in retirement, or could it potentially leave them empty-handed? I'm thinking about, Mo, even myself, coming through the last 10 years being in the business and also an investor that participates in market-based investing. The better things are, you think, hey, I could take on more risk.
That's right.
But maybe I should take a step back. 22 has made some people question.
And I think some of the one thing that I think about that may leave people, kind of weary is they go back to average returns, right? So when you're looking at your 401k, some of you are left, on your own trying to decipher which mutual fund should I invest in, right? And so one thing you may go to naturally is, let me look at the past performance of a fund. And I'm going to go back and look at the average return that fund has delivered over the last 3 years, 5 years, maybe 10 years, right? But I want to make sure that people understand that average rate of return doesn't really mean much. It can be misleading, right? Yeah,
but think about it. Most of we call them tier sheets, or most of the data that's put out about the different funds, oftentimes are giving a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, or 10 year historic view. Okay, now think about this. As an average consumer, if I go into my 401k and I'm selecting funds, why in the world would I pick something that has a 4% average when there's something that pops up that has a 12 or 13% average? Why? You're going to pick the one that has the better average return. You think, oh, it must be a better investment, not fully understanding the amount of risk that's embedded within that fund.
Yeah, I mean, simple math. Let's say, if you have $100,000 and you're up 50% 1 year, right? So that means you're up to what, 150,000. If you're down 50% the next year, then you're down to what, 75,000, right? And let's say you go up 30% the next year, right? If you take that average, that is what, a 10% average, right? But if you do the math, you're way below $100,000. You're not delivering back the amount that you had when you started with. Mm-hmm. And so the deception behind the average rate of return is really deceiving. I want people to understand it's not about the average rate of return. It's about the yield. What are you actually yielding over time? The real rate of return.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we've been misled. I say we. there's a lot of information on the internet, on the web, many YouTube videos, much of which is great information. I mean, literally great information. We have a YouTube channel. We put out information on podcast items like that. And there's a lot of great content out there. But unfortunately, if you don't really fully understand how to interpret the information that you're receiving and how to really test it mathematically, it can kind of lead you into a world of a wrong expectation. You know, I always say, good financial planning is really the process of creating a very clear expectation of where someone's headed. So for you guys, you know, I would say, hey, whatever you're doing is a plan, right? So it doesn't matter if you're sitting at a season of life where you're 45 years old trying to accumulate wealth, trying to minimize liabilities, get the house paid off, or you're, you know, 55 years old, the best earning season of your life, you're debt-free, and you have a plan. Okay? What planning does is ensures that what you're doing today is getting you to a place where you're trying to go. It sets a clear expectation. And a lot of times these online calculators like you're talking about, the concerns of the difference between average rate of returns versus real rate of returns, all of this creates such confusion that consumers are thinking, you know, I'm going to be at, you know, I put $6,000 in a Roth IRA, I'll be at, you know, 10 million by the time I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, we work with many high income earners. They're not touching these levels. So we need to make sure that our viewers and our clients have a good expectation, and that's the key, especially when we're talking markets and volatility.
Yeah, and also the season, and when you experience that volatility, it plays a huge part, right? If you ever looked at the sequence of returns, essentially, you know, if you look at two scenarios where, you know, you look at the S&P 500 returns from like 2000 to 2020, you know, if you were just to flip those returns around, and the outcome of making distributions during a down season in the market plays a major factor. When you're experiencing the negative years in the markets, if you experience them in the beginning of your retirement, or if you're experiencing during the tail end of your retirement, will play a huge factor in the ultimate results and the healthiness of your retirement plan.
Yeah, let me just bring it to you guys and say this. When it comes to making the right decisions, it's important to have the right tools in place. And our message is that a lot of times what you have access to by just doing a quick search on Google isn't going to set the right expectation, and you probably have figured that out going through a year like 2022. It's important that you get the right information, and that is exactly what the Retirement Readiness Review does. It starts with your story, understanding everything about you and where you're wanting to go. We take all of your information about your financial life, your goals, your health, and really get an understanding of where you're headed first. And here's why. When we can understand the truth about your story today, we can then figure out how to improve that story with what you're already doing to get you on a better path to a successful retirement. All you got to do is be one of the top 10 callers that picks up the phone and calls 855-792-5855. Asset Management Group is here every single week. We appreciate you guys joining us. Whenever you need us, all you got to do is pick up the phone and call. Be blessed.